It says we're going live. It says we're live. We're late.
We're doing it live.
Hey, everybody. Let's see. We had a bunch of people here already. Jerome was here. He was the first one here. Smash Block. What's up, man? Vaxxer's here. David Rodriguez. Hello. Kaylin and Chris and Jem. And let's see. Who else? Darren. Jay. Chris. Am I missing Trevs? I give up on trying to pronounce his name. I'm just calling him Trev. Justin, Matt, Alriza. That's a cool name. Hello from Germany, Alriza. Regor, Granite. It's Bionic. Jay. Eldete. Is that like what happens with pasta? Look at the Bill O'Reilly reference. What's the Bill O'Reilly reference?
We're doing it live.
I don't know what that means.
Oh, he went off one day. And there was a video that was posted where he was like yelling at his people because he was trying to read the teleprompter and teleprompter wasn't working. And then finally he's like, oh, God damn it, we're doing it live. We're just going to do it live. And then he's like yelling at every single person on staff. And it's like, okay, you are a really awesome person, Bill O'Reilly.
Isn't he like one of those dudes on Fox News or something?
Yeah, he was not a good person. Not a good person. You're competing with the SpaceX docking. Yeah, that's right. It would be this time. I watched the takeoff with my son yesterday, and that was pretty damn fantastic.
Listen, you guys don't know this, but I mean, I know everybody's like, oh, Bob and Doug, but Lloyd and I are in the back of the shuttle right now doing the show. So we're not competing with them. We're just showing you a different angle.
we run all the cameras on the actual in the Dragon capsule.
That's right. We've been doing it forever. All right, let me shut off the music.
Oh, this is fantastic. It's so cool that SpaceX is actually doing some space stuff with NASA. I love it.
Stadia runs well on the rocket.
Yeah, we're testing streaming speeds in interstellar orbit.
That's right. Here, if I take off my hat, you can see that it floats. Ready?
I don't have my sequin dinosaur. Otherwise, it would be floating in the area around me as well.
All right. Oh gosh, I haven't even opened up my recording software. Lloyd and I pre-show were talking, and I got distracted, and I didn't do all of the things that I'm supposed to do, and for that I apologize. And sorry we're late, by the way, everybody, because we were trying to figure out stuff. This is episode 60. Stadia. I can never spell Stadia right. I always spell it Staida.
That's like when I type really fast and I type and it's te.
Yeah.
It's for some reason my fingers just don't work. Like the muscle memory for typing the word types TEH.
Remember when people would do that on purpose because they were idiots?
Yeah. I just pretend I'm one of those guys. Yeah, I'm cool typing things wrong. It's not that I type badly. Yeah, it's terrible.
I had a
Jason
buddy
Brown.
who... Go ahead.
I was going to say, Jason Brown, how are you getting on with Jotun? Have you played anymore? No, I recorded my first look, and then I had a full evening of family night. So as soon as I uploaded it and got the video posted, I was doing family things with the rest of the family. So I've played 0 games since then.
Are you okay as far as my speakers?
Yep, everything's fine.
All right, cool. I just gotta... What I need to do is I need to find one of those little super like white paint markers so I can make a mark on the speaker so I can say this is the Lloyd is my guest thing, and I can that way I don't have to wear headphones, because I can't stand wearing headphones. I love the headphones that I have. I don't like wearing headphones for long periods of time. It just makes my head itchy. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm weird.
I get that. No, I get that. And now that I'm doing my hair for the show, I'm gonna have like headphone hair, because I'm gonna have this big bar across the top of my head.
Yeah,
I'm gonna look like a fool. More than usual.
More than usual. Yeah, I was. You know what? You took my joke.
I beat you to it.
All right, you ready to get started, man?
Yeah, let's do
Buy
it,
a
man.
ColecoVision and a Coleco game cartridge by November 15th. We'll send you a free Cabbage Patch Kid by Christmas.
All right. So you guys have plenty of time to get one of those ColecoVisions to get your free Cabbage Patch Kid, because November 18th is a long way away.
Long ways away.
All right. Let me hit record. Oh, God, that was weird. What just happened? Okay. Welcome back, everyone, to Stadiacast. It is your source for all of the Stadia news that you want to know about. Make sure that you come here and hang out with us every Sunday at 10 a.m. I'm Bill. That's Lloyd. Lloyd, how you been doing this week, man?
I've been doing fantastic, Bill. Thanks for asking. It's been a really good week, a really busy week, but I'm ready to talk some Stadia goodness.
Yeah, Lloyd and I tend to talk on Sundays, and we might send messages back and forth throughout the week, but we don't usually get on and actually have conversations throughout the week. But that happened a whole bunch of times this week. That's why if you're listening to the podcast, you're probably like, oh my God, there were so many episodes of the podcast this week. That's because there was a lot of Stadia news that we want to get to. Before we get to all of that stuff, and we will cover everything today, we do record this show live Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern over at youtube.com/StadiaCast. If you want to directly support the show and you're here with us live, you can use that super chat feature to make absolutely sure that we see your message and we reply to each and every one of those super chats at the end of the show, at the second half of the show, which we call the crowd play section. If you're not here with us live and you want to directly support the show and get a little bonus along with that, then click on that join button down below, become a member, and you can get access to some of our videos before anybody else does, as well as access to a supporters only channel on the Discord, which you can find over at runjumpstomp.com/Discord. All right, Lloyd, let's start with what we've been playing. You played something just like, I don't know, 10 minutes ago?
Yeah, I was popping in to see, because there's been a lot of people talking about the Crew 2 getting a performance and a visual upgrade patch. So I jumped in, immediately went into the favorite thing I do in the Crew 2, which is just hit the three dots and go right into flying. And I flew around a little city in the central part of the US because there's a lot of buildings there. And it looks absolutely gorgeous in 4K, absolutely 4K. It's I'm blown away. I didn't expect it to look as good as it does. I mean, they didn't really change the engine. They just made it bigger, but with the visual effects that they have on it, with the textures, with everything, the game looks amazing, and it already looked really good. So I'm really excited to jump back in and do some more races. And fly around some more when I have a little bit more time to poke around. But yeah, the stories are true. The game's been updated, and it looks gorgeous and runs in 4K now, which is great.
Why do you think that they haven't talked about that? Like, they put out like these patch notes that were like, here's all of the things that you can do. You can now collect cars, and they've got all these new modes and stuff. Why do you think they didn't say, oh, and by the way, we're no longer limited to 1080p. We can now run the game at 4K. Like, what is the reason they didn't say that?
I don't know. I know when the game dropped, they're like, we're working on 4K support. That will come soon. And then the game was out for 2 months or whatever. And then next thing you know, boom, there's just a random patch and the game runs and performs better at 4K. So yeah, I'm not really sure why they wouldn't want to advertise it. I mean, if I was part of Ubisoft, I would want to make sure that they shout that from the rooftops to get more people to buy in and play. But I'm glad they made the change anyway. It's it runs and it looks beautiful, so that's great.
So what else have you been playing this week?
I've been playing a little bit of Doom Eternal, jumping in, trying to. I think I'm on the second to last area, so I'm just about to beat the game, which is great. I've been playing some Ember, and then I've been playing some Jotun, which I put up a first look of last night, and just amazing, varied experiences across Stadia. There's like every game that I've played is different from each other, and they're all fantastic. They're all fantastic games and fantastic experiences. So it's been a really interesting week.
And when Lloyd does finish Doom Eternal, he and I are going to sit down and record a full-on like discussion review of that game. I know that we've talked about that game a bunch, but if you want to know our full thoughts once he's finished it, because I've already finished it, make sure that you subscribe to the channel because we'll post that video as soon as we can. And speaking of subscribing, there's also other buttons on YouTube that you can hit that really do help out. So make sure that you hit those like buttons and the bell. I've been playing. I played roughly a half hour so far of Sundered. I'm going to be playing more of it. That is the Metroidvania game that's by the same publisher. I think it's Thunderful Games.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thunderful Games. They made the Jotun game that Lloyd was talking about. I played about a half hour of that. I really enjoyed what I played. I'm definitely going back for more. I adore the Metroidvania style of game. Like that is one of my favorite genres of all time. So I've played a little bit of that. I've also been playing a lot of Elder Scrolls Online. Even though it's not on Stadia yet, I've been playing it on my PC. Now that I know that I'm going to be able to take those characters and bring them over. And I've been working on recording. I think I have everything recorded. Now I have to edit it down. It's kind of a huge project, but a lot of people have been asking me, can you make a beginner's guide for Elder Scrolls Online? And so I got a bunch of stuff recorded, and now I just need to work on editing that. It's going to take some time, but I'll get it out before the game comes out. Maybe sometime this week, maybe next week. We also have other stuff that we need to that's coming out this week here on the channel. So earlier this week, Lloyd interviewed. Well, who'd you interview again? I forget.
His name was, oh my God, Howard from the game dev, and it was a really awesome interview. That we were talking about Ember, and we talked about the game itself, where it came from, what brought the game to Stadia, how it was, the process of becoming the first early access title on Stadia, and then just some other anecdotes and some other development stuff. It was a really fun conversation, and I think we talked about some really great stuff. So I can't wait for that one to drop later this week.
Yeah, it's coming out on Wednesday at noon, both the video and the audio version. I think what we're going to try and do is have the video version be a that thing on a premiere on YouTube, so people will be able to go ahead of time and have it set alarm so that they can watch that. But the audio is already uploaded, and it's going to come out at the same time on Wednesday at noon. All right, are you ready to get into the news this week, Lloyd? Because there's so much.
Yeah, quickly, there was one other game that I was playing not on Stadia, and the only reason why I'm mentioning is because I want this game on Stadia really bad. I've been playing Minecraft Dungeons on both the Xbox and Nintendo Switch, and it is an amazing Diablo game set in the Minecraft world. It's a simple Diablo game. There's not as much customization as in Diablo. Every time that I was playing it on my Xbox, I loved it. And I was like, oh, I wish this was on Stadia. And then my wife saw me play it, and she's like, well, I want to play that, and I want to play with you. And I was like, great. There's no crossplay yet. Crossplay is coming. So I ended up buying 2 Switch versions of the game, one for me, one for her, so we could do some multiplayer. But I was just thinking, like, oh my God, this would be so much easier if it was on Stadia, because then I could play on my laptop, I could play on my TV, and it would come out when crossplay was already a thing. So hopefully that is in development, because that game is fantastic. And it's experiences like that that make me just appreciate how easy it is to pick up and play a game on Stadia compared to having it on a physical console like the Xbox or a portable console like the Nintendo Switch.
I've heard that that game's really, really short, though.
Well, it's $20, so you get $20 worth of content in it. There's, I think, 10 main stages, and then I think 5 hidden worlds that you can find. And they're going to be coming out with a bunch of additional content for free. And then there's also a DLC pack that's going to add a jungle area and a winter area. But it's a hell of a lot of fun. I'm a big fan of it.
Was there? I don't want to focus on it too long, but was there any? Does it have split screen?
You can do split screen co-op, yes.
Okay. I was just curious if it was split screen because you said you bought 2 copies. All right.
Yeah, we wanted to play on separate machines, but yeah, you can do split screen co-op as well.
Okay. All right. Let's get into the news. First off, we've got I know that there was a ton of news today, and we're gonna kind of briefly hit on the stuff that we've already talked about, but not quite yet. 9 to 5 Google posted this this story about Stadia 2.19. That is the Stadia app on Android. And basically, it's got some new stuff like playing on non-certified phones, free weekends, and touch controls. And the free weekends thing for me is it's the biggest piece of information in here. This is so key. When I interviewed John Justice back in, I want to say November, this was before launch, he specifically, well, although I don't know if it was the first interview or the second interview, but the first interview, well, one of the interviews, he said, we're going to have demos. And free weekends is it's just an awesome way to do this. Like, I've seen games that have done really, really well thanks to free weekends. The one that jumps to my mind is ARMS on Nintendo Switch. And I know that game, a lot of people saw what Nintendo was doing with that, and they said, oh, that game is going to be trash. And I kind of thought that game was going to be trash too. And then I played it on the free weekend, and that free weekend convinced me, oh yeah, this game is definitely something I want to buy. Google's going to have that same effect where there's going to be a free weekend to play some game, and you don't have to spend all weekend downloading the game. You just say, oh, okay, let me try this game out. There's so many times where I get they have a free weekend for, I can give you an example. Elder Scrolls Online has free weekends all the time.
Yeah.
But if I hadn't already downloaded it, it takes forever to download, and then I never get around to actually doing the free weekend. So Lloyd, we've got non-certified phones, free weekend, and touch controls. Which of those do you think is the biggest thing?
I don't know if there's going to be a biggest thing, at least not until this comes out and people play with it. But I think having non-certified phones is a step in the right direction, because currently right now, unless you have a Samsung or a Pixel or some Razer or OnePlus phones, you can't play Stadia on your device. So you go to start Stadia and it says you can just browse the store or pick a CCU to start your game on. If you have the ability to play on any other device, with the caveat that you're going to potentially run into streaming issues, I think that's great. I have a tablet, a really bad tablet. It's the Fire 10, the new 2019 Amazon Fire 10 tablet. And to get Stadia running on it, I had to sideload Google Play and a bunch of other APKs, and then I could install the Stadia app, but it wouldn't run. So I could use that to buy games. But then I had to sideload a hacked version of Chromium that supported the Stadia controller directly, and then I was able to play. But it is so framey, and I'm sure it's because of that Chromium app that it just isn't set to run on this one. But if I'm in the Stadia app and I can just turn on a toggle that says, yep, I know there's going to be issues, give me my stream anyway, maybe I'll be able to use that device to stream Stadia every once in a while just to see what it's like. So I think that's going to be huge for a lot of people. It's not iOS streaming yet, but it's getting us to more devices, which is an important thing.
Yeah. It says, so the string that they found in the APK Teardown, by the way, this is all stuff from an APK Teardown. Nothing has been announced by Google. So it's all subject to change. but it says mobile gameplay on this device is in development. Using this feature may affect game performance and can be turned off anytime. I think that that's great when they say, look, here's your chance to try it.
Yep.
If it doesn't work, we didn't certify this, so just get over yourself. I think that that's a great way to do it. What do you think about touch controls?
Good, I guess, for the people that want them. I'm not someone that loves using touch screen controls in games. I used to do a podcast called Touch of Gaming where we talked about iOS stuff, and we did like years and years and years of that. And near the end of my run on that show, I was so tired of playing games with on-screen controls, and I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to play these like mobile games anymore. I'm gonna switch off. I'm gonna be doing other things and stop the show. It kept going on with other people hosting it, but I'm just like, you know what? I'm done with the in-app purchases everywhere and the fact that there's touchscreen controls everywhere. So this is not something that I will use. My kids, on the other hand, they play just a million different games on their iPads or their iPhones, and they're using touchscreen controls all the time, and it doesn't bother them. So I think this is going to be more of a generational thing. If you're older like myself, maybe this is not something you're going to use. But if you're younger, maybe touchscreen controls will be a bonus for you because you don't have to hook up another controller to play. Where it will be nice is, say, for ESO, if you're using the Stadia version as kind of like your crafting like version, you could pop out on your coffee break, start the game up, tap the screen a few times, get things crafting, and then shut the game down and go about your business. So maybe for little things like that, it'll be useful.
Yeah, that would be like, there's a thing that you want to do in Elder Scrolls Online every single day. You want to go to the stable and you want to give them a little bit of money because it makes your horse faster. And it's a daily thing, and there's a 20-hour cooldown from one day to the next for you to be able to increase the speed of your mount. So that's when that kind of thing would be perfect, because you can just log in real quick, port to the stable. You're not in combat, so it's not really, you don't have to worry about being efficient. You're not going to be getting people killed. I know that there's going to be people who are playing on a phone. If touchscreen controls are like where you've got on-screen joysticks and stuff like that, there's going to be people who are in your group and they're going to get you killed because they're playing on a phone. But hey, you can't control that. But being able to go to the stable and do the daily things that you have to do in an MMO, like that kind of thing is huge in MMOs. These little things that you got to do every single day, and being able to just pull out your phone without a controller to do that is really good. And I look forward to that kind of thing. I would never want to actually play the game, the real game, with touch controls. I can't stand having my thumbs cover the screen. I can't see what I'm doing. And not only that, I prefer to have that tactile feedback. So this is not something for me, but I've also seen that video where there was some kid who totally outplayed a professional Fortnite streamer, and he was playing on an iPad. And the Fortnite streamer was playing, I think, with mouse and keyboard, and the kid was just running circles around him because they are really good at the touchscreen style of gaming. Like, the kid wasn't playing with his thumbs. He had all of his fingers on the screen doing stuff, and I was just like blown away by that. But not for me. All right, let's move on and talk about something that we have not talked about this week, and that is more Metro games are coming to Google Stadia. Now, you have not played the newest Metro game, right? But you played the old ones before, right?
Yeah, so I've played the new one, Exodus. I went about a couple hours into it and then said, yep, that's enough of that for right now. But I have played through Metro 2033. I played it on, I believe, the Xbox 360, and I hit a game-breaking bug where I was stuck off of the main map in geometry. And if I would save and quit, I would pop up there again, and there was these flying things that were like shooting me, and I would either spawn in and die from them or spawn in and kill myself, and there was nothing else I could do, and I'm just like, I flipped the table and I moved away from that game. So I've played that, but I haven't beat it. And then I played some Metro Last Light as well, which is a fantastic title. So getting like all 3 Metro games on Stadia is going to be great, because it's a really fantastic franchise, and the games themselves just look fantastic. It's they're fantastic looking games. So be able to play them on Stadia, hopefully in 4K, if not at launch, maybe down the road. That's going to be a really good thing for a lot of people.
Do you think it's important that these games are playable in 4K, seeing as how they have like they're old Xbox 360 games? Like if you
but the Redux versions are redone versions of them that have been made playable on modern systems. So they've increased resolution, better everything in the game. So having these run at 4K would be fantastic. I would hazard a guess they're probably just going to be 1080p on Stadia, but even then they're going to look beautiful.
Yeah, it says on the official website, it says prepare for an action-packed adventures with Metro 2033 Redux. I don't know how to say that. I'm not French. And Metro Last Light Redux. Am I saying that wrong?
Yeah, no, Redux.
Redux. Okay, I feel like I'm saying it wrong. Arriving soon for purchase in the Stadia store. We don't know what soon is, but it's great that we're getting more games. I think that I feel like they should have held off on releasing Metro Exodus until they had these out, because I feel like Metro Exodus, like we got that for Pro, right?
Yeah,
we got that for Pro, and that would be a really, I don't know, maybe waiting isn't the right idea. I don't know how I feel about this. I think that it's cool that we're getting more games. I just feel like the timing is weird, because you would think that they would have brought all of these out as a collection or something. And that's something that they should do. They should bundle all 3 of these for a slight discount. I bet you that they would sell a whole bunch of them, even though just about everybody who has Stadia right now has Metro Exodus. When did we get that one for free? Do you remember?
Oh, geez. Was it January? Something like that. Like it's something like that. I don't recall off the top of my head, but yeah, it was not right at the start, but it wasn't it was after like Tomb Raider was free and stuff like that. So it was good. So Metro the Redux collection was something where it was both Metro 2033 and Metro Last Light bundled together. That was available on, I believe, PS4 and Xbox One. But then they also sold the games separately. And I think they're on Switch now as well. So there was ways to buy both of those games together. Maybe they'll have a bundle where you can get all 3 of them, except for the people that already have it as a pro game. Maybe that won't be of value to them.
And we already know that Stadia has bundles in the store as of now. So it's definitely something that they can do. All right.
Yep.
Looking forward to June 24th. Tomorrow is June 1st. So we are 25 days away from this little thing here where it says the June 24th Marvel Avengers War Table stream will be part of IGN's Summer of Gaming lineup. So we're going to find out more about the Marvel Avengers game, which is on Stadia or is coming to Stadia. It was cool the way that we found out that it was coming to Stadia. It was at E3 last year. They had like this giant banner showing off, here's Marvel Avengers, and then it had the Stadia logo on there, and everybody was like, oh man, we didn't expect that. Like, you would think that would have been something where they just announce it, like, because then they get to say it out loud or something like that. But no, it was just a picture on a banner, and a lot of people are really excited for this game. I don't remember what's your take on Marvel's Avengers that's coming to Stadia later on this year?
I'm excited for it. I know a lot of people were turned off when last E3 they showed a video and it's like, that's not the MCU Captain America and Hulk and Black Widow, and they're like, this looks like trash, just because the characters look different. than what we're used to from the movies. I think the game itself looked really cool. I think it's interesting where it's almost like a games as a service sort of game where they're going to keep adding content and new playable characters down the road. I don't know. I'm interested rather to see where this game goes. I'm buying it at launch. I'm not sure if I'm going to buy it on Stadia or if I'm going to get it. I have a pre-order in from like 2 years ago on PlayStation 4. So I might keep that pre-order because it was like a $40 copy of the game in
nice.
Canada, which is half off. So it'd be like getting it $30 in the States. So I don't know if I can trade in a $30 version of the game for a $60 version of the game on Stadia, but I kind of really do want to play on Stadia because it'll look better than it would on my PS4.
Yeah, well, I mean, it might look better. A lot of times when these companies are porting games, they kind of hit, like they say this is the level that it's going to be at, and then they have it across the board. That's how it looks, and it doesn't necessarily look better just because the hardware is more powerful. I can't think of an exact thing that we've seen with that. My brain is having trouble remembering this, but I remember recently there was a game that was ported to Stadia and everybody was like, how come it looks just like it does on the Xbox and on the PlayStation? And the reason is because they're not going to do the extra work to upgrade the textures and stuff like that for a small audience like Stadia. In the future, the audience is going to get much bigger. But right now it's a small audience, and it's tough for companies to dedicate making it look better for different hardware. That being said, as far as my feelings on the Avengers, I feel like they still have yet to explain what kind of game it is, which is why I'm kind of lukewarm on it. I haven't gotten super excited about it, even though I love the MCU. I love all of the Marvel movies. My son and I have watched the cartoons and stuff for years. The idea that the characters don't look like they do in the movies, I could not care less about that. The thing that bothers me about this is they have yet to explain what kind of game it is. And they showed some gameplay, but I didn't feel like it was really gameplay. It felt like cutscene stuff. It felt like very QTE kind of thing, and I'm not a fan of QTE stuff, so I'm not super excited for this, but I'm hoping that they change my mind on June 24th. I'm hoping that they say, we're just going to show you a bunch of gameplay. This is what the game plays like. Here's the UI. We're going to show you uncut 10 minutes of gameplay or something like that. I would stand up and applaud. Like I would do, I would be so happy if they would do that instead of, the kind of thing that we saw at the Xbox event that they had last month or maybe early this month. I can't remember now, where they were like, we're going to show gameplay. And then they showed like no gameplay, or the gameplay was like, here's 2 seconds of gameplay sandwiched between, 1 minute of cutscene. And it drives me crazy when people do that. And Square Enix, I feel like they did that last year at E3. I really want them to show off gameplay before I get excited about this. All right, let's talk about what we were excited about. And we probably shouldn't spend too much time on this because we talked about it for about a half an hour earlier this week. We got 5 new games for Stadia Pro. So if people haven't heard this, Get Packed, Little Nightmares, Power Rangers, Battle for the Grid, Super Hot, and Panzer Dragoon are all coming to Stadia June Pro games. And in addition to that, on June 16th, Elder Scrolls Online also coming to Google Stadia as a June Pro game. A lot of people are very, very excited for this. I'm super excited for Elder Scrolls Online. Lloyd, just real quick thoughts on this?
It's a fantastic collection of titles. Super Hot is a shooter. Panzer Dragoon is a shoot 'em up kind of game, like third person shoot 'em up. There's a fighter, there's a multiplayer game, there's a single player scary game. Like there's something for everyone in this collection of 5 games. And then halfway in the month, we get a huge MMO, which is, when I say huge MMO, there's like 1,000 hours of content in that game. It's a huge MMO. Like it. Pro is becoming a really good value. It already was a good value, but my God, for $10, you're getting access to some amazing titles. Not all of them are new titles. Like these have been out for a while. Some of them have been out for less time. But yeah, like this is fantastic, man. This is going to sell Pro subscriptions, which is what Google wants.
Absolutely. I'm very, very excited for these. I'm really looking forward to Little Nightmares. And I'm also kind of looking forward to Power Rangers. Like I watched a video of some gameplay and I was like, that looks like fun. I am interested in checking both of those games out. People responded a whole bunch on the video the other day that they want Lloyd to stream Little Nightmares because he doesn't like scary games so much. But maybe that will happen. Maybe it won't. You never know. But
it'll happen.
We talked about it for about a half an hour, so we don't want to spend more time talking about it today. I'm very excited for these games. And of course, one of the first things that people said in chat today was, are we going to be getting 10 games for July? Just relax, everybody. I don't think that's happening. Okay, let's get back to the stuff that we have not talked about. And this is a quote from Take-Two's CEO Strauss Zelnick. I'm going to read the quote, and then I want to hear Lloyd's take on this. They said, anytime you broaden distribution, you potentially broaden your audience, which is why we supported with the release of Stadia with 3 titles initially, and will continue to support high-quality streaming services as long as the business model makes sense. Over time, I believe streaming will work. The belief that streaming was going to be transformative was based on the view that there were loads of people who really had an interest in interactive entertainment, really wanted to pay for it, but just didn't want to have a console. I'm not sure that turned out to be the case. And that was, just to repeat, Strauss Zelnick of Take-Two. Lloyd, what's your thoughts on his comment here?
Oof. I'll say that's kind of a blow, a little bit of a little punch to the breadbasket there for Stadia. I don't think it's super surprising because the games that were released from Take-Two were older games, not like new games that had just come out on all the platforms day and date with Stadia. And also Stadia, when it launched, was in beta. You had to buy the Founders Edition. And then after that came, you were able to buy the Premier Edition down the road, or you could wait for a Buddy Pass. But it wasn't like you could go to your local Best Buy or Target or Walmart and buy a Stadia starter pack that comes with a CCU and a controller and take it home. So it was still a hard entry point to get in for people.
Up until when? Like, when did we switch over to just regular Stadia? Because I can't remember.
That was when they gave away the 2 months for free. That's when they said that.
So it was about a month ago.
About a month ago.
Okay.
So I'm seeing more people playing at all times when I log into Stadia. Of course, I'm a little bit of an outlier because I co-host a podcast with Bill, and I get 1,000,000,001 friend requests every day that I add. So I'm often seeing 50, 60, 70 people on my friends list are playing Stadia at that particular point. Obviously, your mileage may vary depending on the number of people that you have that that are playing. But there is way more people playing Stadia now than before this whole giveaway. So it'll be interesting to see how many of those people stick around after. But yeah, when you release a game like NBA 2K or Red Dead, those aren't new games, so you're not bringing something new to a platform to increase hype. And then Borderlands came out after the rest of the consoles, so it's still not a day and date thing. I think once we start getting next gen games that are released day and date on Stadia, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X, I think that'll give us a true view of how many people are picking up Stadia to play kind of the next gen stuff because they don't want to buy the $500 box to stick under their TV.
And look, Strauss Zelnick clearly has information that Lloyd and I do not. He has inside information. He is somebody who is part of the gaming industry that Lloyd and I just watch from afar.
Yep.
What I think he's being incredibly myopic, though, with this statement, to say that we expected people to buy a bunch of old games in droves when they still had to buy the hardware, like the Chromecast and the controller. You couldn't, like, you there was a limiting factor, and we've only had a month without that limiting factor. So where, like, I don't understand what he was expecting to happen. And only having a month without that limiting factor, how fast do you expect things to ramp up? Like, I feel like he's suffering from the same thing that a lot of people suffer from, is that they can't see the long game. And maybe I'm wrong, because he obviously will have information that I don't. But it seems like from this comment, it feels like he is not looking at the big picture. He's just looking at a very small picture in front of him, and he can't see everything else because he's got it too close to his face. It just seems incredibly myopic to me.
It reminds me a lot of the Wii U launch, when EA released 3 titles at launch. They released FIFA 13, NFL 13, Madden 13, I guess, and Mass Effect 3. And Nintendo consoles have never been known for sports games. So they sell a few copies of FIFA and a few copies of Madden. But if you're a Madden player, you're on PlayStation or Xbox. If you're FIFA, you're probably on PlayStation. That's where the bulk of the players are in Europe that play that game. So those games weren't really made for the Nintendo console. And then they come out with Mass Effect 3, which came out far after every other version of Mass Effect 3. And then after about 6 months or a year, they said, yeah, our games did not sell well. We're not releasing any more games for the Wii U in the near future. This platform is just not viable for us. It's like, well, you released old games. People have bought those games already. Like, you can't release a movie in your theater that is 10 years old and then say, well, I guess no one wants to see comedies because we had a comedy here. No one wants comedies. Okay, we're not bringing any more comedies to this movie theater. It just, I understand what he's saying. Like, they expected to move more copies, but it's a platform that was in beta and with a slow rollout, and it's older games that were released, except for Borderlands. That was fairly recent after it came on all the other platforms. But it was just like, it's not a true sign of that platform because there were so many limiting factors.
And not only that, but, you know, let's go back to the Avengers real quick. You have a pre-order, right? You have a pre-order for your PS4 or Xbox. I can't remember.
PS4. Yeah,
you,
PS4.
You have a pre-order for your PS4. How many people had a pre-order for Borderlands 3 on some other platform when it was announced that it was coming to Stadia? Like, they had already spent the money. They're not going to turn around and buy it again unless they're crazy like us, because we buy games over and over all the time. Like, that's the kind of thing that I don't understand how an idiot like me can figure this kind of thing out. But these people who are kind of giants in the industry, like Take-Two Interactive is a huge, huge publisher. How is it that the CEO of that can't figure this out when, you know, some fool in his attic can figure it out? Like, I'm not that smart. I've skated by my entire life on my beautiful good looks. I'm not that bright of a guy. So I think it's kind of crazy. And those of you who are listening, I'm being facetious about that. I have a face for radio. All right, let's move on. Lost Words. I always say Lost Worlds when I say, like, the Jurassic Park stuff. Lost Words gets a patch. That patch, it adds a whole bunch of new stuff. This comes to us from Stadia source. Modus Games have confirmed that a new patch has gone live for Lost Words Beyond the Page. The patch adds a raft of improvements to the game, but one standout addition is 4K 60. I have to say that game was really pretty to begin with. I don't know what resolution it was running at before, but I mean, cool that it's now 4K. Like, I never noticed that it looked blocky, and I was playing on a 4K screen. But you know what? That's awesome that they now have 4K 60, just like, or maybe it was 30 frames per second before. I don't know. But now it's 4K 60. As far as the controls, now supports custom control mapping. Just select change in the controls menus to create your own ideal setup. Various fixes and improvements to in-game cursor, pause menu, and navigation. Approved support for Azerty and Dvorak keyboard layouts. I've heard of Dvorak. I'd never heard of Azerty. Is that...
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. HDR improved to brightness, maximum exposure value reduced, and fixed an issue with incorrect exposure of certain objects when HDR is available or enabled. And then, of course, the 4K 60 thing. And there's a bunch of other stuff as well. The thing about this that I like is that that's 2 games this week that have suddenly become 4K 60. And I know that I've jumped up and down forever saying, hey, now, let's not worry about the resolution. And I really don't care too much about the resolution, but I think that helps because Stadia came out and they had that in giant bold letters up on the screen. It said 4K 60, and then everybody assumed that every single game would be 4K 60 when you can't really assume that. But as we get more games that are running at 4K 60, I think that's fantastic. Now, I saw people on Reddit asking, do you think that this is because they're using Gen 2 stuff, or do you think that this is like updates to the game? Lloyd, what do you think?
I think it's just updates to the game. I don't think anybody's using Gen 2 stuff in production right now. I think that's something that's going to be unveiled down the road, probably when the other consoles launch, to say, hey, no, we're just as fast as those guys. Don't worry, people that are buying into Stadia.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I think it's probably just they updated their games. They're getting better at understanding how working with Vulkan works. And I think that, you know, there's a lot of people who came to Vulkan from DirectX, and they're like, I don't know how this works as well because I have all these years working with DirectX and now using Vulkan, which is closer to the metal and is actually I don't want to say better, but it's from what I understand, it's more efficient than DirectX. So you're going to see people get better at this over time, and I think that's a really, really important thing. Speaking of patch notes, we also had patch notes from CodeSync for Get Packed. If you want to check out those patch notes, I'm just letting you know that they're there. I don't want to spend a bunch of time reading you a bunch of patch notes for this. Go ahead, Lloyd.
The best thing about those patch notes is dynamite, reduced force required to ignite, because that tells me that yes, in the normal game you can ignite the dynamite. You just had to try harder, because I was trying to get the bank vault open, and I'm like, I guess you can do it with this. Maybe I have to find some fire source or something. And I just had to hit it harder. So maybe I can do that now, which I'm gonna have to go do right away.
I ran into the exact same issue, and I never was able to blow up the bank vault. I couldn't figure out how to do it. And they show you a graphic of how to do it. They're like, you know, do this. And I was spinning around like you do in that game where you pick up a thing and you start wiggling the stick around and your character is spinning it. And then I let go and nothing happened. And I was like, all right, whatever. I'm just going to move on with my life. But there you go. Now we know why. Anyway, so Get Packed also got patched. Is there anything you want to talk about before we hit the crowd play section, Lloyd?
I don't think so. I think we're getting this is showing that the system is starting to mature. We're getting a lot of updates from Google. We're getting a lot of game announcements. We're getting a lot of game releases. We're getting amazing games in Pro. We're getting patches. Games are being updated to 4K, which shows that there's at least some money there, because they're not going to spend, developers don't spend time on a game that isn't making money. So hopefully that is what they're seeing. So this is all good things. This shows that the platform is starting to mature, which is a good thing for us who love the platform.
Yeah, and I also feel like this is what people expected Stadia to do day one, which is kind of a crazy expectation to have, in my opinion. I think for people to expect them to hit the ground running like this is very, I'm going to use that same word again, myopic. It's short-sighted. It doesn't see what's going to happen in the future. And I think that people need to understand that it takes time to make big changes like this. And I think that next year, we're going to be having a very, very different conversation about Google Stadia. And I know that when it first, like back in November, when it had first come out, Lloyd and I were saying, look, we're going to see a very different picture as soon as we, at the time, Stadia Base comes out. Well, Stadia Base, now just called Stadia, is out, and we're starting to see these changes. And those changes are going to be very slow, and it's going to take time. But guess what? Because you don't have to buy a machine for Stadia, and because you don't have to buy the Gen 2 for Stadia, as these change, like if you were doing this on a traditional console and updating it, by the time they had everything updated, it would be time to buy the next one. There is no buying the next one, which is what's so exciting about Stadia. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to take some time to answer your questions from CrowdPlay. Stick around, everybody.
Now you can play Donkey Kong on your ColecoVision, Atari VCS, or Intellivision video game system. Donkey Kong has multiple screens, just like the arcade game.
All right, we are back, and before we get started with the CrowdPlay, I want to thank the people who became members a couple of days ago. We had Phil Collins, I don't know how to say this guy, Ricalamus, I'm guessing, Emilio, and Ari all became members a few days ago. Big thank you to everybody who has done that. You guys are fantastic, and we appreciate the support. Clive Illidan sent in a super chat. They said, afternoon coffee and Stadiacast, and then a little thumbs up button. Don't forget to click that thumbs up button.
Cheers.
We appreciate that. Let's see. Oh, it's starting to scroll on me. Where did it go? Clive, okay, there we go. Goblin Lord sent in a super chat without a combat. Avery Krause sent in a $5 super chat with a comment. They said, Stadia ESO is super exciting. I think this will open the door for other MMOs like Final Fantasy XIV. Avery, I think that, I don't want to say it's a foregone conclusion that we're going to get Final Fantasy XIV on Google Stadia, but the guy who basically pulled Final Fantasy XIV from the fire, because for those of you who follow Final Fantasy XIV, that game launched and was an absolute dumpster fire. Like, it was bad. It was a real bad game. And then they brought in this guy who everybody calls Yoshi P. I can't remember his actual name, but Yoshi P rebuilt the game while running the other game at the main game at the same time. And after they rebuilt it, they shut down the old game and turned on the new game with this cool lore event. And they skipped you forward 5 years, and all kinds of crazy stuff happened. But Yoshi P, who I have a ridiculous amount of respect for, he has said, if we are going to bring Final Fantasy XIV to any other platform, it has to be the same servers across all of the platforms. So right now, you can play Final Fantasy XIV on 2 platforms. You can play it on PC, and you can play it on PS4. And they have cross-server platform between those two. However, up until last year, Sony was standing in the way of any cross-server, cross-platform play between the other consoles. They were always fine with it on PC, but they didn't want you playing with Xbox people or playing with Nintendo Switch people. And Yoshi P said over and over when asked about bringing it to the Switch, he said, look, if we can do cross-platform, we're much more likely to bring it to a platform. Well, Stadia has said from day one, we want to have cross-platform. So bring on the cross-platform stuff. And we've seen, like, we've been playing cross-platform stuff, and it's been working really well. So cross-platform on Stadia clearly works. Elder Scrolls Online is about to bring cross-platform play. I think is it a foregone conclusion that Final Fantasy XIV comes to Stadia? No, but I think it is really, really likely. Lloyd, what do you think?
I hope so. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that would be really excited to play that. Not myself, not something that I would personally play, but I know I have some friends that still play it. And I didn't even, and including Bill, that still play it and would love to have it on another platform. So I think this will be good. The more MMOs we get on the service, the more people that are like, oh my God, okay, my computer's starting to die. What am I going to do? Oh, if I can pick up my WoW character on Google Stadia and I could do it on this little Chromebook, why do I need to buy a huge PC to start playing these games? So you're going to get a lot of consumers that are going to switch over like that. So it's a good thing. Not every game has to be for me. And I'm glad that more games are coming to the service, potentially games like Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Final Fantasy XIV. That game is really, really fantastic. Keep in mind, unlike Elder Scrolls Online, that game does require a subscription in order to play. So you can't just do a free-to-play version. You have to pay the subscription in order to play that game. But it's a really, really good game and has some of the best dungeon fights that I have ever experienced in an MMO. And I've played lots of MMOs, so I highly recommend it. Hopefully it comes to Stadia. All right. Thank you for the question, Avery. Liam sent in a super chat. They said, in my opinion, Metro Exodus is the best looking game I've played so far on Stadia, and I can't wait for Redux. Pro tip, change controller settings to preset 2 and bump up the sensitivity. Great channel, guys. I will say this. When I played Metro Exodus, I felt like the controls were a little sloppy, and I wasn't sure what that was related to, like if that was a Stadia thing or if that was because the game controls were a little bit sloppy. So maybe I'll revisit that game and I'll try your preset 2 thing and bump up the sensitivity. I really did like the world that they had built, though. It was, and you're not wrong. That game is really, really pretty. I do wish it was 60 frames per second, though. Lloyd, what did you think about the controls with Metro Exodus?
I thought they were fine. I found that when you start turning, there's almost like a bit of a delay before you start turning, and then you would keep turning after. And I was like, oh, the latency is really bad with this. But I just went into the controls and I messed around with my sensitivity, and all that went away. So I was originally worried that it was like a latency thing from Stadia, running it on Stadia, but it was just the fact that the controls, the default that it ships with, just doesn't seem to work right, and you have to go in there and tweak it a little bit to make it work better for you.
I had to do the same thing on Doom Eternal. I had to go in and turn off the motion smoothing or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
And once I turned that off, it felt fantastic. And I know that they updated it and they removed, like, I think it was 20 milliseconds of latency with the most recent update to Doom Eternal. But I had that same exact problem where they shipped it with the controls were just, they just weren't tuned properly. And once I figured it out, I was like, oh man, this is much better. Anyway, thank you very much for the support and the question, Liam. We want to say thank you to Mike Lee and Chris Devoy for becoming members, which, by the way, you know what, let's just move on. Thank you guys for that. And if you haven't become a member yet, click on the join button to find out more about how that can be beneficial to you. David M sent in a super chat and they said 1440p in Chrome on PC. Why didn't Google allow 1440p monitors to stream 1440p? Need a 4K monitor to get 4K 1440p, stuck with a blurry 1080p signal on PC. Lloyd, do you want to tackle this? Because I'm a little confused.
You can definitely get 1440 streams with a 1440 monitor, provided the game that you're trying to play has that profile added to it. Google has come out and said that they're slowly over time going to be adding all that. They might be done by now, or they might still be working on it. They haven't given an update, but it definitely works. I don't have a 1440 monitor, but I know people that do, including one of our mods here in the chat room that has been saying that it works for him. So I know it works. I'm just not sure why it's not working for you, David M.
It could be that the game that they're playing does not have that profile set up. So I was talking to a dev, and they specifically said, and this is from memory, so I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but what I understood was if the developer doesn't make a 1440p profile, then what will happen is that they will take the 4K profile and send it to you. Like, you'll be running the game at 4K, but you will see the 1440p. Now, what it seems like David is saying is that they're getting a 1080p signal on PC, which is not what we expect from what that dev told me. So it is a little confusing, and I'm not sure what to tell you. I wish I had an answer for you. Go ahead.
I know that when I was starting to play Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I was streaming, even though I have mine set to best visual quality, I was getting 720p sent to me, and which is far away from the 1080p or 4K that I was expecting. And for a while, Google's been restricting the stream so that they're not sending everybody 4K right away, just because of all the people at home. They were trying to protect bandwidth. So I know I was getting 720p. So what I did is I installed a Stadia Plus, and I was forcing a 1080p stream. That was before I had a 4K capture card and all that stuff. And I was able to get 1080p every single time. So I wonder if maybe David M, maybe you have Stadia Plus installed and you're forcing a 1080p stream, which is basically making that the only stream that you're going to be getting. If you have any extensions installed on your browser, make sure to turn all that stuff off, because let Google handle it. And as long as you're using the app and you have best visual quality selected, you should be good to get 1440.
Yeah. So hopefully that helps out. I will say this, if you have a Chromecast Ultra, that is the best way to play, is using the Stadia controller with a Chromecast Ultra. I never have to worry about any of that stuff that you guys are talking about, because I just don't use the browser to play games ever. That being said, if that's your only way to play, then maybe Lloyd's advice will help you out. But thank you very much for the question and the support, David. We appreciate it. Omega/Buster1. That's a funny name. I like that. They said, they sent a super chat. They said, will game demos/time trials be part of Stadia? We actually talked about that earlier today. If you check out our show notes, which if you scroll to the top of chat, you'll probably see the show notes somewhere in there, or perhaps one of our mods will grab the show notes and drop them in chat right now. That would be awesome if you guys could do that. If not, I understand. Look at that. Lloyd's doing it for you. In our show notes, there is an APK teardown done by 9to5 Google, which talks about the idea that this is not from Google, but there's an idea that we may be getting free weekends down the road, and that totally matches up with what John Justice, who is a VP over at Google and the head of product for Google Stadia, told me when I interviewed him, either back in November or in December. I can't remember which interview it was. Or actually, I think it was, well, it doesn't matter when it was. He said that demos were coming. So I think that that's definitely something that we're going to be seeing very, very soon. Well, maybe not very soon, but soon. Well, sometime we're going to see it, because Google has told me that, and we've got the APK teardown. Lloyd, any last thoughts on that?
No, I'm happy. The fact that there's verbiage in there for pro trials, and you need to be a pro member to get this. Looks like we might get some demos if you're only a pro member. It looks like there's going to be some free weekends. It looks like there's some really great stuff coming in the future.
All right. William Millard also sent in a super chat without any comment, but thank you for the support. Thank you, everybody, for the support, sending in those super chats. They really do help. Lloyd and I get, I would say 80% of our revenue from doing this show comes from directly from people who are supporting the show, either by becoming members, like DeFlem just becoming a member, or the super chats that came in earlier. So thank you guys for doing that. It really does help. Lloyd, anything before we wrap up the show?
I don't think so. I think this was a news heavy episode of the show, which is great. There's been like 4 emails from Stadia PR this week. Like it's been not something that we've seen ever since launch. So I hope this is a sign of things going forward.
Yeah, they said we're going to have 120 games. They knew that they would be getting 120 games on Google Stadia this year. And it seems like we are on track for that. It seems like, as they keep bringing out games, although they did say that, didn't they say that we would have 10 exclusives by June or by summer?
By summer. I want to say summer.
Actually, I think they said it was the first half of the year they would have. So we're getting close to the first half of the year. I haven't sat down and counted up the number of exclusives, but, that means that we have some more that are on their way. All right, follow the show on Twitter at Stadiacast. Follow me on Twitter at RunJumpStomp. Follow Lloyd on Twitter at Dasme. That's Dasme. Be sure to use that hashtag Stadiacast so that we can find your tweets. Usually when I build these show notes, I do a search on Twitter for Stadiacast as a hashtag, and I bring those in to the show notes. Didn't have room for any of them this week because we just had so much news. Join the Stadiacast Discord over at runjumpstomp.com/Discord, and then join Lloyd's community Discord over at rezd.tv/Discord. That's rezd.tv. The music you are about to hear is Subterranean Kamikaze by Zircon. Check out their stuff at zirconstudios.bandcamp.com. Lloyd, I will see you next Sunday, sir.
All right, we'll see you, Bill. See everybody. Have a great week.
Bye-bye. Coughing right into the mic there, are you?
Oh, I wasn't muted?
No. That's okay.
I was trying to clear my throat. I thought I was muted.
I can easily edit that out. That's just funny.
Oh, never mind. I thought when the music plays, we're not in the actual recording, but I guess we are.
I have to go and hit a button, but it's like I said, it's easy, like, because I have the music, you on a separate channel and me on a separate channel, so it's really easy for me to remove it afterwards. It's just funny.
So I was chatting with the Stadia Revolution in chat, where they called out saying that Stadia isn't a beta, that the beta was Project Stream. Well, if we want to get technical, Project Stream was a technology preview. It wasn't even the beta of Stadia. There's been no beta of Stadia, although people called the founders' entry requirement kind of the beta period for Stadia, and that's what I called it. So I may have misspoke, but that's kind of where I was coming from. So as I said, sometimes it's hard to get words when you're talking in front of a couple hundred people live, trying to get your thoughts out while you're doing a show.
Also, trying to think of what you're saying at the same time that you're actually saying it and running a show is pretty tough. But I will say this, I don't care what Google calls it. It was a beta. Like we were beta testers at the beginning. I feel like right now and sure, you could call it early access if you want, but it's the same thing. It was not the finished product. Do you think that what we have now is the finished product?
Yeah, no, definitely not. It's like right. Gmail. Gmail was in beta for a bajillion years, even though it was essentially the same service. They weren't really adding that many features. So I mean, they're all synonyms for each other. You can call it what you want. And Google hasn't come out and said any of those words. So we're just calling it what we think.
Stadia Revolution says SMH. What is that?
Smack my head.
Smack my head. Okay. All right.
Wapak.
But yeah, I don't think it's a finished product. I think that they are still developing it, and I'm perfectly fine with that, because when I pick up my controller and I play my game, it works, and I don't really concern myself with what other people think about it. You know, I constantly see people talking about how do we get other people to like Stadia. You are worrying about the wrong thing if that's what you're doing. Just like the stuff you like, and if other people don't like the stuff that you like, then who cares? I don't understand like this need to have other people agree with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had this past week multiple people bring me into threads arguing about how Stadia is dead and how Nvidia is going to rule everything, and Nvidia is better because you're not rebuying your games, and it's just like, God, just play what you like. Like if you want your Steam purchase to be playable in the cloud, well then Nvidia is for you. If you want your Steam purchase to be playable on any other console, you can't. So does that mean that any other console is a failure, just like Stadia is in your mind? Like, it's just such weird arguments, and the internet is already such a tough place to exist, especially recently with what's been going on. We don't need to get into arguments on Twitter over whether Stadia is dead or alive or whatever. If you don't like it, just play what you like. That's why we have options as consumers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. This isn't a Coke versus Pepsi war. And the thing that drives me the most crazy is there's room in the market for Stadia and Shadow and GeForce Now and Xbox, because they all come at this problem with a different thing. And, you know, people are always asking why. Oh, it's muted. That's why there's no music. I muted it. People are always asking, why does Stadia get all of this hate? And the reason why it gets all of this hate is because people expected one thing that Google never promised. And then when that one thing didn't come through, they got mad about it for some reason. I don't understand. Like, Google was they said, we're going to do a streaming console. And everybody said, oh, that means Netflix is streaming, so we're going to call it the Netflix of gaming. Google never said it was the Netflix of gaming. And then when Google made the announcement and it wasn't like Netflix, everybody automatically assumed that it was garbage because it wasn't the thing that they were expecting it to be. I see video game companies deal with this all of the time. Nintendo doesn't announce that there's a Nintendo Direct coming. There's rumors that a Nintendo Direct is going to come. Then Nintendo doesn't do the Nintendo Direct, even though there were rumors. And then the day comes when there was a rumor of a Direct and there isn't one, and everybody gets mad at Nintendo for not doing what they never said that they were going to do. This is exactly the same thing that Stadia has to put up with.
Yeah, it's disappointing. I mean, Stadia at the launch had so many messaging issues, so I think they could have gotten in front of this, and things would have been much better off if they would have gotten in front of all of these the Netflix of gaming comments and things like that. They could have put out a press release saying, we are not the Netflix of gaming, we can't wait to tell you what we are, it's coming, blah blah blah, whatever the date was. But they had so many issues with messaging. They've gotten a lot better with that. They're not talking about resolution anymore. They're just talking about pick up and play anywhere. That's really where it should have been right at the start. So they're new at this. People are saying, well, why would I buy Stadia when my Xbox is Series X, when it comes out, it's going to have this many exclusives? Like, why can't Stadia have exclusives? It's like, well, Xbox Series X has exclusives because the Xbox 360 was a thing, and the Xbox One was a thing, and the OG Xbox was a thing, and developers have been with them since day one. Not every developer, because developers come and go, but there are some developers that worked on original Xbox and then did 360 games and did Xbox One games, and now are doing Xbox Series X games. Meanwhile, Microsoft has been in the industry for 15 years, and they've been buying studios and putting their money into it. Google has been in this industry for 6 months, so you got to give them time to catch up. And
I would say a year and a half.
Sure. Yeah, they have been in here because they've been working on the product, but they've been officially launched for 6 months, essentially. So give them time. They need time to build up the games that they're making internal. They need to buy other studios if that's what they want to do. It's going to take time before Stadia is where Xbox was in the 360 era. It's just going to take time. And it took 5 years to go from OG Xbox to 360. So just think of all the games and the growth and the problems and the mistakes and the challenges and the successes that Microsoft had with that. Google's going to go through that same stuff. It just seems like with social media, everything moves so much faster right now, and it's gonna take some time before Stadia is really a mature platform, and that's cool because we get to see all these random announcements of new features that are just rolled out that are gonna make developers go, oh crap, we should include that in our game, and it's gonna be crazy. And the best part, when Stadia 2.0 comes out, you don't have to buy it. It's just gonna be there, and your games that you buy now are possibly going to be running better in the future, which is going to be fantastic. So let's hope people can stick with Google for as long as they need to for that to be a thing.
And another thing to keep in mind when you're talking about exclusives is that, and thank you to Jonathan Chaitlin for becoming a member. One of the things that we have to keep in mind is that, the consoles have exclusives, because if it didn't have an exclusive, why would you spend $500 on it? Or let's assume that the Xbox Series X is $500. Maybe it's $300. I don't know. Why would you spend hundreds of dollars on this console if it didn't have games that you could only play on that console? That's the reason why you have to have exclusives on consoles. And as much as Lloyd and I say that Stadia is like a console, and it is, there also is that advantage that you don't have to spend money in order to play those games. You just buy the games that you want and play them in a browser on whatever device that you have in front of you without having to have this huge upfront expense, which is why exclusives are not as important as they are on other platforms. And it really drives me up the wall that people can't understand that. And of course, then they hear me say that and they assume that I'm saying that I don't want exclusives on Stadia. They assume that I'm saying that I don't think exclusives would help Stadia. And I'm not saying either of those things. What I'm saying is that exclusives are more important to actual hardware consoles than they are to Stadia, because it's not a platform you have to buy into. And guess what? Exclusives are not going to be as important to GeForce Now as they will be to the other consoles. And that's kind of thing is the point that I'm trying to make. Stadia Revolution just sent in a super chat and they said, thank you for the discourse, guys. Well, thank you. We like to talk about this stuff, even when people disagree with us. I'm not here to make sure that everybody agrees with me. I don't really care if people agree with me. I'm just here to tell people what I think about stuff and have a conversation with Lloyd because it's fun.
Exactly, 100%. Yeah, it's it really is different. Like GeForce Now is like, it can't even be compared with Stadia because it's not a platform where you buy games. It's a rental of a PC to play the games you already own. So when people compare Stadia and GeForce Now or xCloud and GeForce Now, it's not really a fair comparison. It's like comparing your cable provider. So these are the channels I get, to a place where you go rent movies. Like, it's just, they're similar things. You watch movies, but they're two totally different things. It'll be interesting to see what happens when Steam kind of rolls out their Steam Play, Cloud Play beta, and the rumors of them doing their own thing, and also partnering with GeForce Now. That will be more akin to Stadia, but then it's a Steam thing. It's not a GeForce Now thing. It's Steam directly competing with Stadia and xCloud. So Yeah, the industry is it's so much in its infancy right now that it's going to take some time before all these things shake out. But that's exciting. Like, we're seeing a new platform for the first time in, say, I don't know, 20 years, that a new full, like, true new platform that other than, say, mobile games, but we haven't had this in forever. And it's great to see kind of how Google's coming out, how they're faltering, how they're fixing that, how they're getting their messaging right. I think next year Stadia is going to be I don't know, it's going to be like so much better than what we have now, and they're going to look back at all the mistakes that they made, which we're learning, and then you're going to be able to look at what Xbox did or what PlayStation did and see all the mistakes they made starting out as well, and there's going to be a lot of comparisons there.
I 100% agree with that. I would also say that what's really important is that people keep in mind when you're comparing, let's say, Stadia to xCloud, is that xCloud gives you access to it lets you play an Xbox when you don't have an Xbox, which is great. That's an awesome thing, and I am all for it. The reason why I'm more excited for Stadia is because Stadia is not limited to the hardware of an Xbox. And because it's a data center kind of thing, and it's focused on that data center kind of thing, it's going to have features that can't happen on an Xbox, where xCloud is just giving you an Xbox to play. And yes, it's in a data center, but it's the same games that are playable on an Xbox. It's not games that have features that would not run in your home console. So when you see features like Stream Connect, like that's huge.
Yeah.
And that's just the only feature that we get to see right now. You know, I'm going to say this word that I said about 48 times this episode, myopic. There's so many people out there with a myopic view. They can only see what's happening now. They can't look into the future and say, next year we'll have different features that just don't work on other consoles. And that's really what I'm excited for. And right now I'm just enjoying playing games on Stadia, but next year those features are going to I think that those are going to really turn people's heads.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, Lloyd, it was really awesome talking to you, but
it was a good show. But yeah, we need to get on with the rest of our day. So thanks for coming out and joining us for the last hour and a half here on Stadiacast, everybody. It was nice spending part of my Sunday with you fine folks.
Bye, everyone.
All right.